Thank you for joining us. Here are the weekly highlights from Oregon. Kyaukphyu Battlefront expands as clashes erupt at 3 locations. Over 150 dengue cases, 3 deaths reported in Arakan State. ULA plans to recruit 500 Muslim teachers in Maungdaw District. Arakanese women call for transparency in handling sexual assault cases. 1 dead, 8 missing after boat carrying education staff capsizes in Taungup Twsp. Airstrikes in Thandwe claim around 50 civilian casualties in a single month. With the Arakan Army offensives showing no signs of slowing against the Myanmar military junta, conflict across Arakan State has crossed the 2-year mark. Here is your weekly breakdown of major military developments and regional news from July 27th to August 2nd of 2026. Kyaukphyu Battlefront expands as clashes erupt at 3 locations. Clashes between the military junta and the Arakan Army have been intensified in recent days in Kyaukphyu Township, Arakan State, with fighting now taking place simultaneously at 3 locations. Since May, clashes had been concentrated near Sanay town. However, beginning the 3rd week of July, fighting spread to areas near Mianbian, Yanendao, and Zainshao villages had previously seen clashes until late April, but the situation had claimed after fighting shifted to the Taungup Naval Station area in May. The renewed fighting came after junta forces regrouped and advanced toward areas controlled by the Arakan Army, prompting the ethnic Arakanese armed group to launch attacks from prepared defensive positions. Since mid-2025, the regime has attempted to push into Arakan Army's controlled territory in Kyaukphyu Township using thousands of troops backed by Army and Air Force units. Ground forces said junta columns had repeatedly been forced to retreat after suffering casualties due to the Arakan Army's defensive preparations and counteroffensives from multiple directions. By June 2025, the Arakan Army had advanced to within 6 miles of Kyaukphyu town, including areas around the Chinese-backed Kyaukphyu Special Economic Zone (SEZ), while approaching and blockading the Dengue Naval Base and Police Battalion No. 32. However, from late July 2025, the Arakan Army withdrew from areas within the SEZ, including Dengue, Kyaukphyu, and Kandi village tracts. Local residents say the development suggests the Kyaukphyu front may present military and political constraints for the Arakan Army, particularly in relation to China. Over 150 dengue cases, 3 deaths reported in Arakan State. Dengue fever cases have been rising in areas controlled by the Arakan Army in Arakan State this year, with a total of 158 cases reported as of July 30th, according to a statement released by the Department of Public Health under the Arakan People's Revolutionary Government. The statement, issued on July 30, said 150 patients are currently receiving treatment for dengue fever in Arakan State, while 3 deaths have been recorded. The deceased include a 17-month-old child from Remri Township, as well as a 27-year-old and a 36-year-old from Wedali Village in Rawu Township. The first dengue patient in Arakan State this year was identified on April 28, 2026. Since then, additional cases have been reported across other townships. Dengue fever is transmitted by mosquitoes that breed in clean water, with the highest risk of transmission occurring during the early and late monsoon periods. The Department of Public Health said it will implement dengue prevention and control measures throughout August and September. The department also urged the public to take preventive measures against dengue fever and seek prompt medical treatment at nearby hospitals or healthcare facilities if symptoms develop. The Department of Public Health is continuing to implement preventive measures against seasonal and infectious diseases across Arakan State to strengthen public healthcare services. In 2025, Arakan State recorded 2,452 dengue fever cases and 8 related deaths. ULA plans to recruit 500 Muslim teachers in Maungdaw District. The United League of Arakan held a meeting with Muslim clerics and madrasa principals in Buthidown Township to discuss modern education opportunities for Muslim youth and promote social cohesion in Maungdaw District, Arakan State. During the meeting, the Maungdaw District Education Officer announced plans to recruit up to 500 Muslim teachers to work in public schools across the district for the upcoming academic year. The meeting was attended by 309 people, including the Maungdaw District Officer from the ULA Maungdaw District Office, administrative and education officials, members of the District Muslim Affairs Council, and senior Muslim clerics from local madrasa and mosques. The ULA Maungdaw District Officer said previous challenges among Muslim communities in learning the Arakanese language and accessing modern secular education had created difficulties in areas such as healthcare access and communication between communities, affecting social harmony. He said madrasa education and modern secular education should be developed together. describing them as being like two eyes, and assured attendees that there was no need to worry about the disappearance of madrasas. ULA officials said successive governments, including military junta, had contributed to tensions between Arakanese and Muslim communities and restricted educational opportunities. They said the Arakan People's Revolutionary Government provides equal access to education and public services without discrimination based on ethnicity or religion. Muslim clerics and madrasa principals who attended the meeting welcomed what they described as greater attention from the current Arakan administration compared with previous governments. They said some madrasas have already begun incorporating modern secular education into their curricula. Arakanese women call for transparency in handling sexual assault cases. Arakanese women activists are calling on relevant authorities to fully disclose information and ensure transparency in the handling of sexual violence cases in areas controlled by the Arakan Army. Sexual assault and gender-based violence cases are reportedly increasing in Arakan State. Most recently, a woman in her 20s was raped and murdered in Maungdaw Township during the third week of July, prompting calls for decisive legal action against those responsible and greater transparency in the investigation and prosecution of the case. The victim from Maungdaw Township went missing from her home on July 18th. Her body was found on July 24 with her feet bound with rubber inner tubes, her hands handcuffed behind her back, and multiple cut wounds on her body. The Department of Law Enforcement and Public Security said in a statement that 3 suspects have been arrested and will be prosecuted in accordance with the law. However, the fact that the victim's body was found handcuffed has raised public concern and scrutiny. Activists said the continued occurrence of sexual violence cases in Arakan State reflects a failure to deal decisively with previous cases, calling for the maximum penalties under the law and full transparency to ensure the safety of women. According to data compiled by DMG, at least 16 cases of sexual violence, including the rape and murder of minors, were reported between January 20, 2024 and July 22, 2026 in Arakan State and Balawa Township, Chin State. Under Arakan Army control, suspects remain at large in 3 of those cases. Public criticism of the lapse and judicial authorities has continued to grow over the failure to apprehend those suspects and perceived lack of transparency in judicial proceedings and sentencing. Concerns have also been raised over allegations of corruption within the LEPS and the judicial departments, with activists calling on the United League of Arakan to strengthen transparency in law enforcement and rebuild public trust. 1 dead, 8 missing after both carrying education staff capsizes in Dengue Township. 1 person has been found dead and 8 others remain missing after a motorized boat carrying education department staff and teachers from the United League of Arakan Army capsized in Taungup Township, Arakan State. At least 13 people were aboard the vessel when it encountered rough seas while traveling from Phongkon village to Penton Island at around 5 p.m. on July 31st, causing the boat to capsize. The deceased was identified as Dopapa So from Aletan village on Penton Island. The missing are Utin Tong and Ma'emu from Nakakaing village, Upyo Luen and Ma'ipyu from Aletan village, Gumyu Mintong, Uzao Wenlai, Uni Sanshi from Napinchang village on Langdong Island, Ubienzo Hang from Phongkon village. ULA and A officials and family members are conducting search and rescue operations for the missing passengers. As a coastal region crisscrossed by rivers and waterways, water transport is widely used across Arakan State, where fatal boat accidents occur almost every year. On June 15th, a passenger boat from Rakhine Township capsized near Maungdaw Town, killing 11 people, including 5 women. Airstrikes in Thandwe claim around 15 civilian casualties in a single month. Relentless air attacks by the Myanmar military junta on Dengue Township, Arakan State, currently controlled by the United League of Arakan, resulted in 7 civilian deaths and 40 injuries during July. Across Arakan State, junta airstrikes throughout July left 22 civilians dead and 66 injured, with Thandwe Township reporting the highest number of civilian casualties. The escalation of severe aerial bombardments and rising casualty rates have heightened local fears over ongoing air threats, compounding the lack of safety caused by the airstrikes. Thandwe residents have been forced to seek shelter in safer locations while enduring severe hardships. Thandwe, home to major hotels owned by the military and allied crony businessmen, encompasses the world-famous Ngapali Beach and serves as an important economic hub. Military observers in Arakan State note that the junta, having lost control of the region, is actively attempting to disrupt and sabotage the operation of administrative mechanisms established by the ULA. The Arakan army fully seized control of Thandwe township after capturing the junta's final stronghold in the area, the Maungdaw Naval Base, on August 30th, 2024. These were the main highlights of the past week in Arakan. This program is presented every Tuesday, so please stay tuned. May all people of Arakan and the world stay healthy and safe.